I've been practicing throat singing a little bit.
Have you?
And so my voice isn't gone, but you can tell I maybe went a little too hard yesterday.
I just will randomly do like a deathcore scream as best I can, like when I'm rolling around in the Tahoe. Just
You've done it on mic before too.
Yeah, but not quite as like intentional.
Yeah, not like full force.
Today I'm drinking
Are we going?
C4. Yeah, might as
that's
well,
neat.
bro. C4 Power Bomb. I'm hoping that the drink keeps my throat from sounding like
Gravel.
what's that UFC dude? He's got the handlebar mustache. He talks like this all the time. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm not sure.
He's the dude that went against the Tanaka or whatever his name was, and like they just went back and forth, hit. I'm seeing the memes pop up about.
I know which fight you're talking about, but I can't remember his name.
For a refreshing taste, Sam. But anyway, he's like, for a refreshing taste in your mouth after the abysmal Tyson fight. My goodness. And then it's just a video. They just haymaker after haymaker back and forth.
There's been a lot of good fights recently to kind of cleanse the palate.
Yeah,
of
I would say this
Tyson
one wasn't recent. The one I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, like in the last 2 weeks, I've seen a lot of really good fights.
They've
Barry Powerbomb.
Build up their reputation again, which I guess boxing is different from UFC, but still.
I'm sipping on a classic Monster Rehab, just the standard lemon tea.
Caffeine.
It's tasty. It's fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if I should mention. I'm having a tiny bit of caffeine myself. Don't judge. Tiny.
Judging you.
Negligible amount. Okay. Well, that's all I'm going to say.
Did we talk about my little?
I also have water
on the podcast.
Which one?
My overdose of caffeine.
I think we did, yeah, because we talked about...
I think we did too.
I think so.
Did Tanner tell you?
He told me, your poor wife. Oh my God.
She didn't know. And she accidentally did
laughing
the same.
maniacally.
No, it was hilarious. I'm sorry. It was hilarious. I had the thought yesterday morning. I was like, I got up and I went to mix my pre-workout and I looked at that thing and I went, oh, I need to have the conversation with her of, hey, this has a lot of caffeine in it. Do not mix this with other caffeinated beverages. And then early afternoon, she goes, she called me and she's like, hey, there must be some caffeine in that, that thing. I'm like, oh no, you didn't. She's like, yeah, I did. I'm like, do you not remember me whining to you for 45 minutes about how miserable I was because I did that? She's like, no. I'm like, well, you're going to now. You will remember from now on.
I have good news and bad news. Actually, no, I have good news and good news. The good news is she'll probably never make that mistake again.
Definitely.
The other good news is the lethal dose of caffeine is 50,000 times more than that for some reason. I don't understand how the lethal dose of caffeine is.
We have talked about that before.
50 more.
And I still can't believe that because the first time I chugged a Monster, I felt pretty close to death. So
yeah.
Well,
and that's the crazy thing. Even just that much caffeine makes you feel
horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know we talked about this because I threw out the thought of imagine 20 times that. You're at half the lethal dose of caffeine. That would be horrible.
You would probably get past the feeling like crap and get into a place of just tasting sounds and hallucinating.
I think I mentioned this before too, but it's like that episode of Futurama where Fry drinks 100 cups of coffee.
Yeah, you did. Yep.
Suddenly time stops and he's like Quicksilver.
Yeah, crazy. Did you know? Okay, this is random, but my brain just thought of it because it relates somehow.
I mean, that's our whole podcast.
They've recently discovered that unwanted fire, when your brain fires and it doesn't want it, it's firing, but it doesn't need it.
Yeah.
That your body actually harvests that thought and uses it for energy.
This sounds like the
Weird,
beginning
right?
of a really unhinged sci-fi movie.
Yeah, it's nuts. I was like, how do you even find that out?
I literally just saw a statement that's sorry, Phil, I'll let you go.
You're good.
But I literally just saw a statement, something about like I don't know if it was something that was supposed to purposefully make you feel bad, but it would make you feel bad to read it. And one of them was like, yeah, your brain expends the brain power and the energy to create thoughts that you don't want.
Yeah.
You're still missing that energy, but now you're saying something different.
Then, no, but it does. But then also when it decides that it doesn't want something, it like uses that and like it. Yeah, basically,
sounds
regurgitates.
What's the word?
Recycle.
It recycles that energy. Yeah,
takes what the enemy meant for evil and turns it for good.
I'm gonna need more of you singing on this podcast.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Anyway.
do this.
The only throat singing.
That's not throat singing. That's like a Beavis and Butthead voice.
Throat talking.
As opposed to like, which I guess are you normally supposed to sing with like your diaphragm? Is that why it's specified as like throat singing?
Yeah, well, your throat because it's
I was
the
never
noise
vocally
comes from
trained.
like
You're not using your larynx.
Yeah, because when you're singing, it's like the noise is coming from like your mouth. Basically, like, and then I mean, kind of like the back of your mouth, and then throat singing is basically it's taking that noise and then like forcing it to come from a place that's farther down, and you're basically vibrating. But with my throat fry that is going on, I can probably sing the yo. I hope that sounds good. It's going to sound so bad, but anyway, that's the transition.
Not worse than my bobcat noise.
And then I put it at the beginning for multiple episods, and then Courtney didn't notice it for
I'm just going through and listening, and I'm like, okay, looking forward to this, and then I just hear my dumb voice go, and I'm like, he did not.
I guarantee,
never again.
I guarantee there's at least one listener right now that just now realized that's what that was, and they're like, oh, I was wondering what the crap that
listener
noise
is
was.
Me. I didn't that to be
don't mention it, please. I'm self-conscious about my voice on recording equipment. Anyways, guys,
I think my voice is awful, but here we are.
Dude, and I purposely time the intro so that it's like awkward. So there's like that 1 week where Courtney sneezed and the intro started. If you haven't caught it yet, go back and listen.
I agree is funny.
Like I try to time it.
Don't mess with my emotions like that.
It's so fun. Some of them are so awkward,
I'm pregnant and emotional. You never know what kind of a reaction
Phil and I
gonna get
into like an argument, and
I'm like
boom,
I'm like over it.
I love it. Anyway,
just start saying random stuff or start eating food directly into my mic so that it won't even be usable. Yeah.
So we were talking about a little bit of thalassophobia related things before the podcast. I was talking about how much I suck at swimming, and how despite that, I got lifeguard.
We should have just been recording.
Yeah, we should have, but here we are. We screwed up.
But Tanner decided when we were going to start. So.
We can still.
I just need to
what was that sound?
It was all of a sudden my throat wasn't fried for like
you could do the Jonathan Davis stuff.
Most 90% of our listeners will have no idea what that is.
How much, Tanner, as a teenager, did you practice that stuff in your room?
All of the time.
I figured.
Nonstop.
That was pretty good.
Korn was by far my favorite band most of my life.
I can't argue.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Not that I would want to argue, but
I hadn't started the intro yet, and then go. I might just save it for that. So they're like, wait, the intro didn't start yet, and then go.
I was still talking. I was talking over top. No, I was talking. No, I'm just saying that I was talking over top of it, so it wouldn't be a clean cut. So I ruined it for you.
Go.
In the ancient days of giants, when the earth was wild and free, a creature roamed the valleys, cloaked in mystery. Is he born of angels' blood and man, a Nephilim so tall, or a shadow of the fallen, yet heeding the Maker's call? He's a biblically accurate Bigfoot, with a lineage from the skies. Not a myth or legend, but a truth that never dies. Is he a remnant of the Nephilim, a titan standing tall? Or does he have the word of God upon him, the last to hear the call?
That works. There we go.
But anyway, Phil, you were talking about thalassophobia.
No,
right?
I wasn't. Yeah. No, so we were kind of. I don't even remember how we got onto that topic, but water and sucking at swimming.
Yes.
So yeah. Despite not being a good swimmer. Oh, we were talking about going to the pool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I suck at swimming, but despite that, I got lifeguard certified when I worked out at the state park, and
that sounds
experience
terrible.
that experience was awful. I've never felt so like incapable of catching my breath that like as I did that day. So to recap, the things that we had to do to get lifeguard certified, and this isn't like high tier like professional lifeguard certification. This is just like, you know, park pools and stuff like that we have out here in the boonies. But so anybody that's like legit lifeguard certified is going to think I just suck at swimming, which I already said. But so we had to.
You don't need any more disclaimers. Go for it.
Okay. Yeah, we had to swim a bunch of laps, and then like as soon as we were done swimming laps, we had to get into two groups of like 5 or 6 people and tread water for like 10 minutes. And like every minute you passed a 5-pound brick to the next person, and you passed around. So you made 2 rounds. So you had to tread water with a 5-pound brick for a combined like 2 minutes. And I almost drowned doing that.
Yeah.
And
were you full clothed?
No.
Oh, they let you do it in.
Yeah, we were in swim trunks.
We had to do it.
Might have had to have a t-shirt. I don't remember.
Oh.
What?
I did when I did ROTC. They made us jump in full battle gear, ready. Like,
well, that's ROTC though.
I know.
Yeah,
and they made us tread water, and then they gave
we'll come back to that in a
Phil,
second.
it does sound like some military style training.
We'll come back to that in a second.
Yeah.
But
that
yeah,
does
so
not
then
sound good.
As soon as we finished the treading water, we were supposed to. They dropped that same brick down in like the 12-foot portion of the pool, and you had to swim from the shallow end all the way out there, dive, get the brick, bring it back up to the surface, and bring it back to the shallow end within like, I don't remember, I think it was like a minute 40 or something like that. And yeah, I failed the first time and had to come back the next day to finish up along with a couple other people. It was pretty awful. And then so this made me feel like crap. Like, it made me feel like such a wuss. The other day I was telling you about this, Tanner. I came across a video of a guy doing a workout in a pool where it had to have been 12 feet, and he was he had 2 dumbbells, and he was like frog kicking his way from the bottom clear up to the surface and then back down, doing a squat, and then he did it like 3 or 4 times. The cameraman, once he gets done, the cameraman goes over and looks at the dumbbells, 30s. He had 30s, and he was doing that. I was like, dude, I can't swim. Like, it occurred to me, like, I just, like, in the context of that, I can't swim. So the idea now of being dropped off in the middle of the ocean is like the most terrifying. I would hope I had a gun.
And I'm
that's
like,
all I got.
I'm like Fezzik from The Princess Bride. I only doggy paddle. Like, that's about it.
I'm really good at swimming survival. Yeah, like,
not even that.
In the sense of I'm good at swimming, swimming in the form of surviving. Like, I can tread water all day. And so when we did the ROTC stuff, we had to jump in full and then hold weight above our heads. And wait, we had to hold the dummy guns above our heads to keep them dry, because you want to try to keep them dry in battle or whatever their reasoning is. And we had to do that, and then we had to do the diving, like, dropped your gun, you got to dive down and get it. And then they did the sustained, and the part was just boring because it wasn't difficult, but they taught us how to take your pants off. Oops. Take your pants off, and that
was the zipper.
Yeah. No, and then tie them up, and then
use those for flotation.
Yeah, and then wrap it around your arms and stuff. And so then it was a stupid amount of time that we had to tread water while doing that, and like that was just boring because that part of it, because once you get the oxygen into, I guess it's not oxygen, but when you breathe out, you breathe the air into the genes.
Yeah.
It creates a bubble and it keeps you afloat. So you're not really having to tread water anymore.
Yeah, you're just floating.
You're just having to time your breaths in a healthy way. And you're just basically sitting in a pool breathing into your pants for a while. But it was kind of cool because it taught us how to the first thing, if you ever
breathe
fall
into your pants. That's such a weird phrase.
If you ever fall into the ocean, the first thing you should do is take your pants off if you have jeans on and tie them up and literally pull them and tie them up underneath your arms.
Yep.
And then breathe into them so that it creates a bubble. Try to seal it as best you can. It's not going to be foolproof, but at least it holds some air. And then breathe into that and breathe. You're breathing in the air and then breathe out into.
It's like creating a ballast tank, basically.
And that's the first thing you should do. The very first thing you should do. It doesn't matter.
I did it too.
A what tank?
Ballast.
Ballast.
You're familiar with the concept of ballast?
I'm not.
Okay, so basically, this works for like submarines and like fish have them, like their air bladders or swim bladders.
Oh, okay.
It's like that. So basically, you're
Makes sense.
either gathering or releasing air to act as or to increase or decrease buoyancy.
Gotcha.
That's how submarines sink.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I just never heard it called that. I feel like you kind of purposefully dropped that term. Oh, really? You just talk in terms like that normally?
So he didn't purposely drop that, but that actually is. I mean, I was like eating my mic. I'm sorry if that sounded horrible.
Well, then you just smacked it.
That actually brings me to one of the topics that I wanted to talk about. That's just brief. But I was looking this up a little bit. Did you know that they found the wreckage of that Titan, the whatever thing?
Yeah.
The what?
Yes, the Titan sub.
The Ocean Gate or whatever it's called. The Ocean Gate thing.
The recent...
the billionaires that all wanted to go die.
They drove it with an Xbox controller.
PlayStation.
Yeah. I
sorry.
thought it was Xbox.
I don't know.
I
was just because
Xbox I think is the like generic, like everybody uses it controller now.
I actually thought it was PlayStation, but I could be wrong.
I was thinking it was Xbox.
I'll Google it. You keep talking.
It's really not important, but
but it gives me something to do.
But it is curious. But I am curious. But so you know how they talked about like that it basically imploded and immediately they have been liquefied and all this other stuff, and then we'll find wreckage, liquefied, and all this other stuff. No, dude, they found it and it's like almost completely intact. On the ocean floor. So all that crap about it's just disintegrated. They're no longer existing. Blah blah blah. Bro, they found it's pretty much intact.
Not a quick death, maybe.
Well, it's probably a quick death still.
Yeah.
Or
did something just like breach the hole and just like
I have another theory. So my thought process is they talked so long and hard about how they'd have been liquefied and they're not going to be able to find their bodies, right?
Yeah.
What if that was just bull snot? And the reality is they sunk it on purpose and their bodies, they're not in there because they were faking their own death because of all the stuff coming out with Diddy.
Yo. That's a heck of a conspiracy and I like it.
Because they found it intact now. So all that was
I'm at the point.
But all that stuff was just pure made up.
I don't trust anything.
But all that stuff was just pure made up garbage because it didn't immediately just disintegrate into 15 trillion pieces.
Yeah.
It literally, the bottom buffed out and it just sank.
So
because of that, they should be able to find body parts. But they can't. So they don't exist.
The controller they used was it says modified video game controller similar to the Logitech F17 or F710 wireless gamepad, which I think is probably closer to PlayStation than Xbox.
Google that. What is it?
Logitech F710. Sorry, we're nerding.
That's okay. I've heard of Logitech before.
Images.
Never mind.
That is like it, yeah. It's like a hybrid between both.
Oh, you're both right.
Because it's like an Xbox.
I was going to say
everything other than the joysticks.
Xboxy, but the joystick is in the PlayStation spot.
That's nice. You guys can hold hands for the rest of the episode now. Aw, that's sweet.
Both immediately did it. Immediately.
But yeah, so that whole thing was blown out of proportion and stuff with the Ocean Gate deal. I mean, that's all it was on the news forever was, it would have disintegrated. There'd be this debris field and all this. No, there's no debris field. There's a sunk submarine.
Yeah.
It makes me mad. Like, it makes me mad.
Dude, that would be like the worst.
Right.
If you actually were in that.
Yeah.
Like, that's fear number one. Fear number one. Literally the worst. I straight up, look, I'm not going to sit here and try to downplay what Navy SEALs do as far as like the training they go through. But like, I'm bullheaded enough. Like, I did cross country. Like, I know how to just endure. And most of what they do is just suck it up and get through it, right?
Yeah.
Like, that is so much of it.
Yeah.
I feel like I could. And now this is going to sound really bold, but like, I would have given it a shot. I would have wanted to give it a shot if it weren't for the water aspect. Like, straight up, I would voluntarily try to go through anybody's training, except for the water portion of Navy SEAL training. Like, no, thank you. I can't do that. What is it?
I could think of something worse though.
Which group is it that does the one where they put you in the pool tied up and then they straight up leave you there until you pass out. And then they get you out.
I do not know. Yeah. We'll just pause.
Bam.
Ouch.
Sorry. I had to pause it for a split second. Phil got a phone call.
Work called. It wasn't as important as I thought it was going to be.
We were
could have
talking
been a
about,
text.
Absolutely.
That's I was just talking about that working out. I was like, I hate when people call and it should have been a text, and when people email and it should have been a text.
Yeah.
And then people text you asking if you got the email that should have been a text. And you're like,
and then they're like, I didn't want to bother you on your day off.
You just text me, dude.
Yeah.
Just text me next time.
Yeah.
Anyway, 99% of the time should have been a text. But anyway.
I don't know the branch of military or training.
I don't.
Man,
I don't.
I feel like that's Marines, but I very well could be wrong. They're psycho enough to do that.
Someone
for sure.
crazy.
I don't. For some reason,
could ask
it doesn't
my-
stick in my head that that's.
I could ask my brother-in-law then, because he's a Marine. So
Well,
But
but
there's some people that I could ask them.
yeah. But anyway,
I know that's a thing that somebody does.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I heard that and I was
sure.
like, no.
Still, unfortunately, though, I can think of something worse than being crushed in a submarine. At least a way to die. And you say you're claustrophobic, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so like,
Please don't do this.
oh, do you know where I'm going? Like
Do it.
underwater, like spelunking.
Cave dive. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm
we've talked
familiar.
about that.
Where you have to.
We've talked about that.
Like, put your arms above your head and just like writhe like a snake through a hole that's like only big enough for you to fit. Yeah, no, I would never do that.
No. Underwater
Never.
cave
See, I would
divers
never. I would never even start.
Yeah. No.
Never
No,
even start.
We literally
I
talked about
might,
this at length on the pod, I think.
might if I had a death wish, might be like, okay, let's go into this submarine into the Mariana Trench.
If I have a
just based off
death
of
wish.
curiosity, maybe, but no, I would never even approach the conversation of like underwater.
If I have a death
cave
wish,
diving.
I'll just go skydiving with a factory return, manufacturer refurbished parachute.
Yeah, that's one.
That'll be my preferred way out.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Anywho,
Yeah.
You know what a lot
Water
of this
skiing.
conversation makes me think of though,
what?
and I don't think we've plugged it yet, is the video game Subnautica.
Yeah, that game's a blast.
I do want. I need to play that.
They got a new one coming out this next year.
I was doing research
Pretty
for
excited.
a book that I was writing, and I came across this like clips of this game and a couple of the creatures in it, and I was like, oh, this looks like a good enough game. I don't want to go through all the spoilers of it, but I told Tanner, like, you need to buy this game for Xbox and I'm gonna watch you play it. And oh my goodness, in terms of like experiences watching you play a video game, it's like as good as a horror game.
I remember watching people
But
play
without a
that
horror
game
game.
when
It is
when the beta first came out. That game is
terrifying.
sick.
You're a beta.
Yeah, and we've
Yo,
you have the second one, which is more of like an ice planet.
Yeah.
And then they have another one coming out.
Yeah, the Sub-Zero one is fun because
Yes.
every time you leave.
is that a DLC or?
No, it's
That's
its
a
own
separate
game.
game?
It's a Subnautica 2.
Man, I need to pay more attention.
It basically you're going back to back to the planet trying to find what happened during the previous game. And
I forgot about that.
yeah, and so like every time you leave, but you found yourself in like a sub-zero area. So every time you leave the water, you immediately start to freeze. So it adds an extra aspect of the
you're
game.
stuck in the water.
Yes.
Base kind of.
But
you can eventually get like heat suits and like and like hot knives and stuff.
I was going to say what I remember most is that there are alien species of like plants that survive there that give off heat. They survive and they give off like a like a thermal
you can explore
quality.
Areas.
Yes.
Yeah, explore areas really quickly.
You can just go stand next to this plant and then keep going. And then
it's really good.
That's a cool game.
I really enjoyed it.
It's really interesting.
I actually might have played the second one more than I played the first one. But now it's one of my favorite franchises. I can't wait for the third one.
You're swimming in the open ocean and just like either free swimming because you don't have a vehicle yet, like a water vehicle yet, or you're in your little submarine thing, and then all of a sudden you just hear like from the distance and just like this like
I remember when they
and the noises that they came up with.
It's so fun.
I remember when they introduced the Leviathan class creatures. Like I remember the first time somebody saw a Reaper, and it was like, holy smoke, that is insane.
They do a good job in that game too of boundaries because like you can't progress to the next level because you'll just die by a random sea creature. So it's like, so they have like levels without there being levels. And so you have to progress through the game through the levels without, and they do a great job at it.
The game design, the whole game design.
Yeah. So and when you're traveling in your little submarine vehicle too, the airy. Well, you guys remember so much more about it than I do. It's great. But the airy computer voice that comes over and just like entering dangerous area, multiple Leviathan class objects life forms nearby. Is what you're searching for really worth it?
It's so good. It's so petty about it.
They do a great job with the ambiance in that game. Phenomenal.
It's so good.
Speaking of going into areas that are too deep, and continuing.
Are you going to do what I'm going to do? What are you going to talk about? What do you bring up?
Oh, so I'm going back to, have you ever looked at the list of straight up lost submarines that they can't find? They don't know where they're at.
No, this is not where I was going.
Now, where were you going to go?
The like most famous or most dangerous blue hole.
Oh, talk about that. Yeah, we'll come back to the submarine.
And
You'll never guess where it is.
Florida.
So. No, not even close.
Australia.
Nope. It's a place in the Bible.
Give me a refresher on blue holes again, real quick, because we talked about them briefly.
Now, Tanner, I don't remember if you knew this or you just threw this out as a theory, but blue holes are basically caused by underwater sinkholes or springs, or both, because sinkholes are often caused by springs. But yeah, so they're basically just a spot where there's a really, really deep sinkhole or spring under the ocean.
Under the ocean.
And
like, not like a geyser, but it has like the same effect of it. Kind of looks
similar.
like it.
Well, kind of. It just ends up creating this super deep, straight-walled
like
hole.
Column.
Yeah, just a column of deep, deep water in a large body of water.
Ooh.
The large body of water in which the primary one, or like the most famous one, if you just Google blue hole, it'll probably
don't do that.
If you Google ocean blue hole,
scary blue hole.
Why does that sound? Why does that sound naughty? Oh my gosh! Anyway,
I have a theory about that. But we'll talk about that later.
We don't need to.
We'll talk about it after the pod. Anyway, it'll probably come up with this one. It's in the Red Sea.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I've
it is claimed. Now, I didn't find an exact time frame, but in recent years, is what Google says, it has claimed like nearly 250 people.
What?
Whoa!
Over 200 deaths in this freaking hole.
Do you think bringing it to the Bible a little bit? Do you think that in Psalms, when it's talking about the Leviathan that lives in the ocean, do you think it could live in the blue hole and it's real?
Dude, maybe.
Or is it a spiritual?
That's what
I've always wondered. Is Leviathan a sea demon?
I have wondered too, yes.
Or is it, or maybe it lives in the blue hole?
I think I either posed that thought to you guys, like, off recording, like off record, or on here.
So
and I've wondered that
this hole, this particular blue hole, is kind of very popular because it is stupid deep, and I suppose because you don't have the ocean currents, it's not as much of a problem. I don't know. Wow. I didn't look into all the reasons as to why it's super popular, but it's super popular for diving. And now I'm going to go ahead and give like a kind of a trigger warning. There's a video that a guy took. He was doing what's called a bounce dive, I think is what they're called. So it's kind of
down and up.
Yeah, you. So when you're going across a really deep spot like that, you kind of let yourself sink a ways, and then you basically reinflate your ballast and you bounce back up and across. This guy went too deep and reached a point where you reach a certain point where you don't have enough buoyancy to overcome the pressure of the ocean on top of you. And I'm sure this has happened plenty of times, but this particular one, he had a GoPro on his helmet, and he recorded his own death because he sunk too far and wound up at the very bottom.
Oh my God.
So they had to have been able to retrieve it. So they've been to the bottom of this.
Yes,
one.
you can get to the bottom.
Okay.
But he was free diving. He didn't have any rope attached to him. He didn't have anybody with him. He was alone. And so he
Leviathan
went down
probably
too
doesn't
far.
Live in this one, at least.
I mean,
Not currently.
Listen, dude, it is. I don't think people comprehend how dark it is at the dork it is at the bottom of the freaking sea. No, because you couldn't see anything. Like there could have been a friggin' giant squid 10 feet from him, and you would never be able to tell. I would not advise looking up this video if stuff like this bothers you, because it is really, really eerie and not fun to watch. Yeah, but it is there.
That's crazy.
What?
That makes me think of, would it have been an episode of Destination Truth? Would have been older? Maybe not. Maybe it was Expedition Unknown. It was a Josh Gates episode, I'm pretty sure, where they were actually exploring like underwater sea caves and stuff, and it was a bunch of them that were like interconnected into, and like some of them would come up into like just like big pools in the middle of an island or whatever. And the myth was that there was some sort of like kraken or something that would travel through the tunnels and stuff. And that's how it wasn't. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I don't.
It just came back to me. I wish I would have looked it up before we started recording, but I didn't think of it until just now. I'm gonna look some stuff up.
But yeah, do you guys think that the Leviathan in Psalms is a literal Leviathan, or do you think that it's a demonic evil sea creature?
I mean, it's mentioned in more than just Psalms, isn't it?
Yeah. But that's the reference.
Psalms, Revelation.
I think it could be both.
It could be. Now, here's another thing I kind of wanted to touch on, and the blue holes kind of made me think of this. So, the ocean, the bottom of the Mariana Trench, is about 7 miles deep, right? I looked up because I was curious. There's a spot in the North Atlantic, I think it's near Iceland, where there's a gap between tectonic plates, and you can actually swim down between the tectonic plates. And so that got me to thinking. I was like, how thick are the tectonic plates? Do you know how thick they are?
No.
62 miles, approximately. Huh. So the deepest point that we know in the ocean only goes like 1/8 of the depth of the tectonic plates. Which I think is interesting because that leaves some room for more ocean underneath, which we kind of already hinted at. Yeah. Now, on top of that, we also know of, there's quite a few blue holes. Those are places where there's spring water underneath. So there's water underneath the bottom of that portion of the ocean. What else is down there?
Right.
Like, we just don't know. And, like, I don't even know if we have a model for, like, how ocean would look that's that separate from most of the crust. Because we've already kind of talked about, the brine pools, that there could be, like, layers and that things go down further.
I have a thought. I have a question. And this might be something that somebody can answer, but I'm not going to Google it right now. But I just thought of it. So, okay, when it rains or we have a river or a lake, water from that absorbs and goes down into due to gravity.
Right. Sinks to the water table.
Our entire planet is covered in water.
Right.
How much of that water? So is it possible, or maybe the pressure is too high and it can't? But like you would think, due to gravity, that water would absorb and go inwards. Yeah.
Right.
So we have an entire planet covered in ocean. How much water goes into the Earth and absorbs, and where does it go then when it absorbs in?
Right. So a lot of that ends up in like aquifers and just in the water table.
How can it end up in an aquifer at the bottom of the ocean?
Oh, you mean once you get
I'm talking about the planet is covered in ocean water.
Right. I'm shrugging. We don't have cameras, but I'm shrugging.
I might have to Google that to find out.
There's scientific models for a lot of that, but I feel like at some point you have to you have to acknowledge that there's a lot we don't know about down there, and it really leaves you wondering. And so, like, my question then is, okay, so if there's more ocean underneath what we know that's separated by, geologic formations, rock layers, and stuff like that, at some point you get closer to what science presumes to be the planet's molten core, right? So at some point it gets hotter, right? Mm-hmm. Now I could be very well just brain farting on a perfectly reasonable explanation as to why this doesn't make sense, but heat expands water, causes it to expand, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, the problem with like large life at the bottom of what we know to be the ocean, is that A, it's stinking cold, and B, there's a lot of pressure, because you have a lot of water on top of you. Too. But if there's enough, have you ever seen? I guess I surely have. So, like, you think about when you have like two layers of space connected and water in between them, and there's only like a tiny little gap for the water to get through, right? It trickles down. Yeah. It doesn't, it takes time. It takes time for water to get through. And so if you add pressure and squeeze it back up, there's going to be, it's not going to be as pressurized, even on the lower part, right? Like if it's separated. It's hard for me to explain.
That's okay. It's hard for me to grasp this kind of stuff. It's not you.
I wonder if you get that deep down and you get close enough to the hotter portion of the inside of the Earth, if some of that pressure would be relieved because water is expanded because it's hotter. And do you think that would allow for larger life forms at that lower level? Feel free to tell me I'm an idiot.
No, so
I'm not talking to you.
I know.
I'm talking to anybody listening.
No, I know. For real. I mean, there's creatures that exist in such crazy places on Earth.
Yeah.
So, okay, what does like when oxygen or H2O or whatever? So you got solid, liquid, gas, and then above that is plasma.
Right.
What does plasma H2O look like? What is the property of plasma H2O?
Oh my gosh, guys.
And I wonder if when you get down, if underneath, instead of it being water, it's in the form of plasma. Then when it would come up, it would then cool.
It's like the rarest form of water.
Turn into water vapor and boil and then eventually turn into water. And I wonder if when the ocean was released, when God released it, I wonder if he just released the plasma H2O from the center of the Earth. And that's why they don't know. That's why they theorize that the Earth is more solid, is because it's actually just plasma H2O versus.
Okay, I have two questions.
Right? I'm not wrong, right? It goes.
Well, yeah.
Solid,
so states
liquid,
of matter. States of matter go solid, liquid, gas.
Gas, and then plasma, right? When it's superheated.
No, you were good, Phil. Tanner.
Okay,
we're back.
We both made noise.
Okay.
While you took that phone call, I took the liberty of looking it up and.
States. Let me tell you what I know.
Unfortunately, okay, go.
States of matter are solid, liquid, gas, plasma, and then. Oh man, what's what's the fifth one? There's a fifth one.
There's
and
a
I can't
fifth one?
Yeah, there's a. Well, I think it's theorized. I don't think it's one that we can actually observe.
It's not according to.
But I don't think
Dark matter.
I don't think plasma is like its own thing, right? Like I don't think that H2O can exist in plasma state. Am I correct?
It's so that so while
been a long time.
Googling it, that there's theories, and unfortunately, I think it's one of those things where there's theories because as the H2O exists in a plasma state, it's not bonded or something, and so I think technically,
so then it's no longer H2O. It's still water, but it's not H2O.
Well, I think that's the thing, though. Technically, it can, but it's yeah, and so there's theories both ways, but really, it doesn't look like it can be a plasma.
Is this
that's
like,
kind of what I thought.
Is this like chemistry?
Yeah.
So
chemistry and
this
physics.
might be the first time I have ever regretted not taking a chemistry class, like ever.
Yeah, I just regret not remembering more of it, but that's not something
I can correct your grammar. I'm good at that, but
yeah, that's probably my best subject too.
Okay, before we move on, can I let you know?
Wait, before
it's just going to be quick, okay? So I found it. The episode of Destination Truth with Josh Gates. The team hunts the Lusca, a giant octopus that inhabits underwater tunnels in the Bahamas. Oh. Guess what the first half of that episode is?
Blue holes.
Josh takes his team to Mexico to investigate an island filled with possessed dolls. It's the same episode. Anyways, okay.
Talk about that episode.
That's all. I kind of want to go back and watch that episode now.
It came out, 4.
Babe, that came out in 2009.
I believe that. I used to watch that show live when I was in college.
But do you know how long ago 2009 was?
15
when I was in college. So watch it.
When I graduated
I said
high
watch
school,
it.
And when I started college.
Anyway.
Yes, let's watch it. Okay,
so
that's all.
The part of the reason I was even brought this up was because there is a theorized planet, and I do remember seeing this, that there was a theorized planet that was made up of the plasma, they think was theorized, made up of the plasma state of water. Because it is so hot, so low pressure. But that's the thing. And so that's where the theories come into play of, is it even possible? And so technically, according to what they found, it is an entire planet that is composed of, instead of being at the gaseous state, at a plasma state. Mm-hmm. And so, and we get into that area of theoretical that I think, until something can be proven one way or the other, I don't think that we would even be able to. And so the conversation of the Earth being plasma water stops because we can't. There's nothing.
That's what's going on inside my brain right now, anyways.
Einstein condensate. I knew it was named after a really smart dude.
Oh yeah, I already
that's the fifth. That's the fifth state of matter.
That's mentioned in Big Bang Theory, isn't it?
And that's the not officially a part of the four states.
Bose-Einstein condensate.
Right. I feel like that's definitely mentioned in the Big Bang Theory. That's all I can tell you about it.
I think you're thinking of the Higgs boson particle.
No, I remember that one specifically because there's a fun scene.
So that one's not an official four states, right?
Yeah. It's they classify it as the fifth state of matter, but I don't know. I don't know how that fits.
Oh well, I mean, you can classify it however you want to classify it, but if it's theoretical, it's not proven.
By the way,
right.
I just want to say, when you were trying to correct me on the Higgs boson particle, the way you looked at me was so condescending.
I was being sarcastic. That was my sarcasm
sarcastically face. Condescending. Just saying. I don't have any science chops, guys.
You just want us to talk down to you.
Really?
So that you can be...
Really?
Oh, no.
Really?
Oh, no.
You gonna trigger the pregnant lady this episode. Stop it. Okay.
No fights.
I'm all hopped up on caffeine. I might hear my voice crack.
I'm on the Discord now, so y'all can help defend me. Just saying, what do you think? Guys, do I want to bring this on myself?
Not a single guy in there is going to have a conversation about that.
I mean,
we
guys,
know better.
Guys as everyone.
There's only guys in there, and none of them.
I guess you're the only one who dares to venture there then. Let's move on.
Anyway,
so
the list of submarines back to...
I was going to say, now can we get into this? Because I feel like we've kind of explored
we went way far away. And it was like we could have gone one of two ways, and they both fit, but now we got to bring it back.
Right.
The list of submarines that have gone missing, there's a long list, and some of them are nuclear submarines, and they just
my gosh,
don't know. I don't know where they're at. Can't find them.
It's crazy how nations are good at losing things that shouldn't be.
Oh
losable.
my gosh!
Things like, I don't know, laptops and submarines.
Yeah.
Oh, like literal trillions of dollars.
I would like to submit the contents which I am in possession of. Anyway, there's over 15 submarines, many of them nuclear, that I just don't know. I don't know where they're at. I think the most recent one that was significant was in the 90s. It was a nuclear. I think it was. It's a nuclear.
Oh, that was the. Yeah, I know that one. That was the Red October.
Kursk, Russian submarine Kursk. I don't know if it's
that joke went over your head.
Oh, was it the hunt for
I know the movie,
Red October,
but I wasn't.
I've
I didn't
heard
know
I
if
was
it
just making a
real or
joke.
not.
No, I was just making a joke.
I didn't know if it was based on a true story or not. I remember the
I don't
movie.
know,
It's
maybe,
been a
but
minute since I've seen it.
I was just making a joke.
Well, if it's a true story, then it's not a joke.
You can make a joke about true stories.
You're making fun of dead people.
I don't care.
But I don't know what. But anyways, the Russian submarine Kursk in '92.
I
I
have
think,
heard of
was
that
the
one.
most recent
I
one.
have heard of that one.
Bunch in the '80s. But yeah, and the U.S. has a list of submarines that we've lost. And so yeah, there's
surprised they didn't misplace the list too.
Dude, okay, a couple of things.
There's so many.
A couple
they
of
don't
things.
Know where, they just don't know.
When I probably won't care about this when I get to heaven, but I want to care about this when I get to heaven because I just want like a holographic style display of the earth, and then you just take away the earth and leave everything that man made and had, and like things.
And
I just want to know where everything is.
Yeah.
I want to see all the lost submarines and sunken ships and lost coins and the ancient civilizations. I want to see all of that.
Did you see
thing is, though, Phil, the thing is, Phil, throwing all the satellites, you'd probably be grossed out by how much humans left all of their junk.
Forget that part. Forget space junk.
I wouldn't.
Did you see the? I think it was like a bottle. Did you see? I think that it was a bottle of Coke that they found at the Marianas Trench.
Yeah,
it's the deepest point on Earth, and they found a Coke bottle or something like that.
I think it was a can.
Might have been I don't know what it was, but it was It was
and
just
it wasn't crushed into oblivion.
No, because it would have been open when it was in the water.
Trash everywhere.
Yeah, the
terrible
floating trash island that's like the size of Texas
out in the Atlantic. Yeah,
bro. That think about it. Driving through Texas, have you ever been to Texas? Texas is obnoxiously big and obnoxious to try to drive anywhere from anywhere. Even just Dallas to Houston sucks, let alone going across the state. It is. If you've ever been across Nebraska, Nebraska's bad.
Yeah.
Texas is worse.
Texas is way worse.
Texas is so bad. And there's an island of trash that big just floating around in the ocean.
Ridiculous.
And honestly,
Also
the thing that I think is frustrating the most about it is that all of these countries is we're going to ban this stuff and we're going to do this, but the worst countries that contribute to it don't give
care.
A crap.
They don't care.
They don't care. So then it leaves the countries that do care to foot the bill to take care of the countries that don't. It's annoying.
Not enough.
That's enough. That's as political as we ever need to get.
Yeah. We're done with elections over. We don't need to be political, but. For real, though, that's annoying. But
that's
anyway.
a planet problem, not a political problem.
Okay, so...
we talked about one more submarine, guys.
So, still talking about... What?
I said we actually stayed on topic and talked about one more submarine, then we got off topic again.
Oh, yeah. So. The other thing, have you looked up... So, speaking of my next transition from all of the lost submarines, the crazy thing about the lost submarines is that just some of them, they don't know why. They have no clue. They just don't exist anymore. Leviathan.
Right?
Or Megalodon.
Yeah.
I still hold that there's something out there.
Is that where you were going with the whole subterranean water with the thermo big life surviving there? That's where the Leviathan's going to come out of.
Yeah, maybe.
It's going to come out of the deep just like the water.
That's kind of what I was thinking is just we don't...
That I just connected that in my brain.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
To kind of take it back to last week's when we talked about, the fact that we've explored so little of the ocean floor, that it's so unmapped mostly, that there could be gaps in the mantle that we don't know
and
about.
how often does it change too?
Right,
because the tectonic plates are always moving and all that sort of junk.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah. Well, and so here's something I just thought of. If we're going to kind of stick with our Pangea theory, that's why like there's some of that stuff that's in weird places, or like places that don't make sense with any other thought. Before tectonic plates moved, if we're thinking of like the world being, one whole place, and before, like when the Tower of Babel and all that, if we take it, we can connect all of this. If there was gaps that were much bigger between the tectonic plates, dude, there could be all kinds of crazy stuff sealed down there that we, think of as just biblical, lore, things that science throws out as nonsense. Right. But like, y'all started the Pangea theory, so I don't know.
No, I think that sounds good. but yeah, who unfortunately, knows? my brain kind of took a detour picturing prehistoric Coke bottles just down in the tectonic plates, and now they're closed up in there.
Okay, I'm not opening another energy drink. This is just water. But my throat, I just
liar.
It's not liar. Water doesn't pop and fizz. That's not water that you need for your throat.
Anywho,
what does that say? Flavored, sparkling
water.
That's right.
Anyway. I just wanted to lecture you because you're usually the one who lectures me on drinking water.
So I'm arguing against that, but we literally, Phil and I, before we started the episode, we're arguing how they should just stop calling this water and flavor it like pop because it's not water anymore. And so then now I'm arguing the other side of it against you just to argue.
You never argue, just argue.
Anyway, my point, guys.
Never. That does not taste good right after drinking an energy.
It's dangerous when you do that. Once again, with your pregnant wife.
I didn't hear a thing you said, and we're just going to plow through.
They hear me.
The next thing is that I wanted to talk about is, have you guys heard of the Baltic Sea anomaly?
I've heard of it. Saw titles of it when I was doing research, but I didn't go into it.
So
I can't.
But
what is it?
They don't know. Yeah. It looks like it's basically an anomaly in the Baltic Sea that looks like the Millennium Falcon. It's huge.
How big? How big is huge?
Huge.
How huge?
Google it.
That's not an answer.
I don't have it right off. Twice the size of a football field.
Yo, what?
So it's massive.
I'm sorry.
And then on top of that, around it, electrical devices malfunction. And so they can't effectively document it and effectively figure out what it is because electronic devices just malfunction near it.
But they think it's like metallic. Like
they don't know.
Metal. I mean, just based off of their observance.
There hasn't been really a whole lot of effective observance because when you're at that level, you need your electronics functioning well. Yeah. And
so they can't even really explore it now?
Not really. I mean, they've tried and they've done, and it looks like it's mostly, so I think it's, the theory is, the biggest theory I think is that it's a metallic rock.
Y'all ever seen Prometheus?
So the theory is that it's a metallic rock that is creating and maybe just the Earth's magnetic sphere is being reflected or something like that. But it's just this massive underwater thing. And
it literally just makes me think of Prometheus. Like the when they find the ship.
The crazy thing is it looks like the Millennium Falcon.
I know.
It looks like it. That's crazy.
But like that's what I'm saying. Like it just looks like a random spaceship crashed in the friggin' sea.
And the combination of the circular parts with the straight edges of it. If you haven't seen it, I'll try to drop it in the Discord. If you're not in Discord, you can just Google the Baltic Sea anomaly. Phil, you want to?
I'm just
going to drop it right now. Yep. It looks so cool, but they kind of tell us that, like, in nature, straight lines don't exist and perfect circles don't exist and all this other stuff. The way this is looks is it's like a perfect circle with straight lines interjecting into it.
That picture sucks.
Yeah.
Pull up a different picture to show Courtney.
Yeah. Okay.
That is crazy looking.
So then you've got...
I might have a boy waking up soon.
So you've got this underwater scans. That's the best underwater scans they've got.
Okay.
And then you've got the deep sea, like the ground penetrating radar and stuff. So you got that. And then
Can you click on the picture and enlarge
that one's a CGI replica.
Okay.
Of it. Yeah.
Let me delete that then. Anybody that happened to be looking at the Discord is going to be like, "What was that?"
I think most images are going to be computer generated, because I don't think that they've actually effectively like.
That's crazy.
Yeah, here's ground penetrating radar. You can see.
Is that what this is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Here's the full picture. Go ahead and put that one. But this is the full picture of the ground penetrating radar. So it's like this circle with straight lines. Weird. It's just a weird anomaly. But it kind of brings back the idea of, okay, so if demons use so let's say fallen angels are like a physical being,
right?
And they use physical craft to.
That's a Nephilim ship.
It could be
a Nephilim ship.
Not even. It could be, but it also could just be a demonic ship.
It could be,
because if you go to, and I don't know, always agree, and actually I disagree with a lot of what Tim Alberino has to say, but one of his theories is that demons are both physical in this dimension and other dimensions. They can travel between the different dimensions, and so they're
like Constantine.
So he basically more refers to them as like alien-like entities, basically, and he's got some out there theories about it, but he believes that they have physical bodies and therefore need physical craft. And so then when we see UFOs, it most likely is just demonic craft, but they're not bound by the same. And I don't know if Tim Barberino goes in this, but I've gone into the thought process of if they're not bound to our physics, that could explain why they're able to go in and out of dimensions and then appear and disappear, is because they're just flipping in between. Yeah. Well, if they're underwater, if they're capable of going underwater like crazy, that could literally just be an underwater ship that sunk, or like you said, it could be
the Tic Tac that.
Yeah. Or it could be. I
go back to technology.
The episode you said that we're not going to be political, but we're going to be doing the episode on the was it a press conference, just the briefing on the UAP.
Yeah, we got to watch all of that.
We need to watch it, but that's coming up.
Yeah,
we got to watch it.
Yeah, but well, and so that also tracks with like my personal theory regarding like technological innovation, as far as like how we've figured out how to, dude, I'm sorry, it still just blows my mind that we figured out how to store information on rocks using electricity in a way that we can retrieve it. Right? And display it on a screen and interact with it.
I know.
The computers are mind blowing. Like,
I've seen a video before. It was like, I think it was like a bunch of Scottish people at a concert, but some guy just took a microphone and went up to them and was like, what's something that just amazes you that you should be able to understand, but it still amazes you? And someone was saying that that we can just record information like that. And or one girl was like, the fact that your eyebrows know where to stop growing, like they don't just keep growing all over, but just like stuff like that, where it does make you think. So it would be interesting to do an episode where we just kind of go into weird stuff.
Yeah, let's not get because we're running out of time.
Yeah, I know.
So
but anyway, that tracks. That tracks.
With my theory
that kind of supernatural intervention on that.
Right, continuing kind of Courtney saying crazy, it kind of makes you think. So if the Book of Enoch is correct and real and truth, or at least this part of it is truth, that demons that we know them as are actually the disembodied spirits of Nephilim, then that would leave a lot of room for aliens to then be just fallen angels. Because if we think of demons as fallen angels, then what are aliens? And that kind of goes into, well, then they could just be making themselves appear as aliens, which I think is a valid argument. And honestly, I would probably lean more towards that. But if you fall into the thought process of disembodied fallen Nephilim are the wandering demons that like inhabit bodies and stuff like that, then fallen angels, that leaves, like I said, a lot of room for fallen angels to be the alien species, and if they're alien or not alien, to be more like the aliens, and if they're flying around in these crafts, something like this could tangibly just be hey, they screwed up, and because they're capable of making, because demons, and I mean, clearly demons are capable of making bad decisions. They could have made a bad decision, wrecked their spacecraft, and then sure enough, over 3,000 years, it becomes the Baltic Sea anomaly.
Did you have anything else to share?
On the Baltic Sea anomaly?
Just in general.
I've got topics. A ton still.
Still? Do we need to do a part 3?
No, we've got time because we're we're not even at an hour yet.
Oh, you said that we were running out of time.
We are.
Okay. You can see how that would be confusing. I have some stuff to share though too.
To the sheer amount of stuff that I have for today.
You go ahead though.
What do you got? Because I've been talking for a bit. My voice could use 5 seconds.
You're good. So, we're talking about cryptids, we're talking about some unconfirmed stuff, but my brain kind of went to the practical side when I was doing some more research. And also, we've been talking about deep sea phenomenon, but like the ocean at surface level is terrifying too. So, anyways, the largest rogue wave ever recorded was on a Norwegian oil rig in the North Sea. So if you see tons of reels with the yo-ho
that place
audio,
sucks.
Yes, and I have a little bit on that. But they might be talking about the North Sea because it's completely volatile. So this largest rogue wave ever recorded doesn't mean
ever recorded.
Was 84 feet high.
Holy
just for a rogue wave. Okay, that's my starting point, guys. The largest wave ever surfed, which also is kind of like, this doesn't make sense, but like it's but the largest wave ever surfed, according to official record, was done by a German surfer named Sebastian. Not going to try and pronounce his last name because he's German. His last name starts with an S, which was apparently 86 feet high. So, but when you're talking about rogue waves and how the specific conditions where rogue waves are, because rogue waves are dangerous because they come out of nowhere. So even higher than that, 2 feet higher. Someone has surfed that.
Dude, 84 feet?
That's like 9 stories tall.
Dude.
So the North Sea is considered by many to be one of the most dangerous and rough stretches of sea on the earth. I didn't know. I wouldn't have been able to point to the North Sea on an unlabeled map. Would you have?
The what?
The North Sea. Do you know where it is?
By Alaska?
No. East side. It's more Atlantic. It's kind of towards the Arctic Ocean, right?
It goes into it a little
up
bit.
Near Scandinavia, that region. Yeah.
Yes. So it's east of Great Britain, north of like Germany and the Netherlands, and it's west of like the Scandinavian countries.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the stretch that we're talking about. It's considered to be like the most volatile, roughest seas by many. That's kind of unofficially, but that
must be pretty oil rich too, because there's a lot of drilling and piping that goes on.
There is.
That's inconvenient.
I'll share more though about why I think that might be though.
Okay.
But yeah, now I'm getting flustered here. But yeah, so like very volatile, like rough seas and stuff. That's because there's the cold air coming down from the Arctic, and then it mixes with the warmer air and stuff. The jet stream. Yes, and it causes a lot of low pressure systems and stuff. So that's kind of what this whole yo-ho audio trend, like a lot of those videos are specifically like showing the catastrophic waves that overtake ships in the North Sea. The crazy thing is though, it's pretty shallow. Like, there's like a deeper trench that I think is like 7,200 feet, but the average depth of the North Sea is actually only like 320 feet. Which is crazy, but that actually makes a better atmosphere for these crazy waves though, because like I said, like I talked about with all the air currents and the mixing of different temperatures of air and stuff. I'm not a meteorologist. I could probably phrase that better, but but also like when the sea gets churned up and stuff, it's churning up the whole sea.
Yeah.
And so it like stretches down to the depths, displaces the water, and that's what creates these huge waves.
It makes sense.
So yeah.
You splash in a shallow bathtub, it's going to be a lot more violent than in a like a deeper pool.
Which is also why tsunamis can get to be so crazy deadly, because I went into that a little bit too, because at deep sea tsunamis, or like the start of tsunamis, and even as they roll into shore, they're only like a few feet in height, but they travel at 500 miles per hour when they're out at deep sea.
Is that a legit
That's
number?
legit,
bro.
500 miles per hour. I can show you the video. So unless I got my information from a non-credible source, but I felt like it was pretty legit. But I think most of that action is underwater, because this video also said that a ship nearby might not even notice, because it's just a few feet in difference in the sea. But as it approaches land and shallower water, friction starts to slow it down, but that's actually what makes it build in height. So like we're talking like March 11th, 2011. Do you guys know what that was?
Indonesia?
It was Japan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Japan. Gotcha. I remember watching this on the news.
That was
Oarfish.
Yes.
Okay, random. I forgot to mention this. I mentioned it in the our chat, but you forgot to mention how freaking big oarfish are.
Yeah, they're big. They're
Me?
not, no, I did.
Tanner spoke on oarfish.
I thought
I spoke on like eels.
Yeah, you
he brought
forgot
up the oarfish.
Oh, that's
the
right.
oarfish is
You
huge.
did not mention how big those things are.
They're big.
I came across a picture of it, and I was just like, "Whoa, that looks large."
But
based
once
on the
again,
rocks it's next to.
I'm glad that you brought that up though, because when I'm talking about how churning up the deep seas and the displacement of water to water and stuff, and that's what produces big waves. Supposedly, that's what brings up these oarfish. And so they just kind of, like, isn't that kind of the theory behind it?
That's one theory, yeah.
And so it just like stirs up the depths.
Yeah, you dragging up like a 36
and they can't handle those currents, and so then they wash ashore, and it's like, oh, a big event's gonna, like, the seas are gonna get churned up.
Well, no, I don't know if that could be, because the oarfish live in the
abyssal zone.
Right, but if stuff's moving down there, that's likely gonna.
How long? Like, I mean, like, if it started down there, wouldn't it? I don't know. Take a while to reach the surface.
Yeah, I don't know. But that is a good theory, though.
But with Japan, though, did you know? I didn't quite remember this. That earthquake off the coast of Japan in 2011 registered as a 9.0 on the Richter scale.
I remember it being big.
Yeah.
I didn't remember the number, but I knew it was huge.
So one of the top 5 strongest recorded earthquakes in history. When I start just reading stuff off, guys, thank you.
I'm going to start calling myself, instead of a podcaster, I'm a recordist.
Thank you.
That sounds so cool. Like, a recordist actually sounds like a cool term. It's fake. But anyway, continue. Sorry.
Okay, I'm about to talk about like a catastrophic thing. So thank you for
joking.
But like, luckily, these citizens knew better than to be distracted by I'd be pretty distracted by a 9.0 earthquake and stuff. But it's like, by like the wreckage and like aftershocks and stuff. But they knew instantly, like, this earthquake is over. We need to get above ground as quick as possible. Yeah. So that's what they did. And I watched a few videos of that, and it was just pretty, honestly, crazy, disturbing to watch and stuff. Because this earthquake was only 80 miles off the coast. And so they knew that even though they didn't know where it was coming from, they knew, like, tsunamis, like, tsunami danger is, like, huge. So, and they had... the Kamaishi city had a seawall, and it was the largest and deepest seawall in the world, 18 feet high, and like the longest in the world. And this tsunami that came and just like blasted right past it, and just so ended up over 28,000 people confirmed dead from that.
That's crazy.
Holy
man,
I didn't remember it was that. I knew it was bad, but I didn't remember it being that bad.
That's massive.
Wow.
And there's actually here's the I think the biggest category of tsunamis are actually called mega tsunamis. So even bigger and more what?
I said I didn't know that.
You did know that? You guys
mega tsunami.
suck. You guys are so much better at science than me.
I study everything abnormally.
So then what's a mega tsunami? What's the conditions for it?
Basically, well, okay. Now go ahead. Just share.
No. I want to hear. What do you think?
There was a mega tsunami that hit in, I think it was Alaska, in which a landslide actually created it, and it's created in this way that just shoves the water underneath and above at the same time, and it just like
There's
I bet
a few of those.
Love that noise. Okay, continue.
Probably as much as I love that noise. No, that's what we're talking about. There's a couple in my top 6 list that I'm going to mention that actually were in Alaska. I've got a top 6. I can really just breeze through it. I don't have to read all my details. It causes a lot bigger waves because it's theorized. They don't even fully understand the science behind it, but they theorize that the displacement of water by other materials like landslides is so much more like sudden and so much quicker that's why it's like even more catastrophic and creates even bigger waves than like water displacing water in like seismic activity, that kind of stuff. So number 6 is the Kariat Fjord tsunami in 2007 in Greenland. It created a 328-foot tall tsunami. That's number 6, guys.
Ooh.
Number 5, 1936, Lituya Bay, Alaska. Cause not known, probably landslide. The wave was consistently 1 to 200 feet tall, but at its highest, it was 490 feet tall. And we're talking bays, so we're talking like landslide from actual land, but as this wave creates, there's still land on either side. So that's how they're measuring this, is the damage zone of like how big the wave swept up and it took down trees and stuff. They were able to measure the height of the wave afterwards because of this, like just the area of damage that it made. Number 4, it was in 2015, Icy Bay tsunami in Alaska. Again, initial height 330 feet, but then it built up, guys, to 633 feet.
Jeez.
Bro.
Yeah. Once again, they were able to measure that because it observably hit like the surrounding landscape. Number 3 is the Vaillant Dam in Italy. I tried. That came out more French than Italian. That's okay. 1963. 820 feet at its highest point.
That's insane.
Dude.
Luckily, the landslide, it's like hopefully directing these away from most of the population, but you got to think of people who live along the bay, and like tons of ships who are already out to sea.
I'm running out of amazement. How high are we talking for the
you can save it. Number 2, May 18th, 1980. Does that date sound familiar to you guys? May 18th, 1980. Thinking further south from Alaska.
Was that a California earthquake deal?
Further north.
Further north. No, I got nothing.
That was from the Mount St. Helens eruption, guys. So I did not know this. That giant eruption where the north flank of the mountain collapsed actually caused a landslide, which then generated a mega tsunami that was at its height 853 feet tall.
How did that... That's inland.
I don't know. I didn't have a chance to look at it.
Just a decent chunk of land.
That amount of material moving that violently just caused.
But we've been there, and like it's inland. It's not like
I know.
You know, we're talking about like,
but you're also talking
deep
about
ocean
half of a mountain.
Tsunami belt, like waves going at 500 miles per hour. Yeah. Have you ever like looked at how fast landslides can travel and how fast like lava flow can travel?
Yeah,
it's like hundreds of miles per hour, which is stunning to me too. Do we need a break, or can we go with number 1?
Keep going.
Number 1. Guess what? We're going to revisit Lituya Bay in Alaska. This is the tsunami of 1958. Sorry. A 7.8 magnitude earthquake hit Alaska. Okay, but not just that. it broke free a chunk of rock above the bay and caused a landslide of 40 million cubic yards, which is just difficult for me to even think about. But it destroyed everything in its path, obviously. It rose, and at its top height, confirmed measured 1,720 feet.
A mile high tsunami?
Feet. Not yards.
Oh, my bad. Yeah. Still like a quarter mile.
If the Empire State Building had been floating like at surface level on the bay, like at sea level, it would have completely engulfed it with another 500 feet of water above the top floor of the Empire State Building.
It's a third of a mile. That'd be a third of a mile.
Yeah.
A third of a mile high.
Yeah.
Holy.
But miraculously, it only claimed 2 lives. So.
Yeah, low population. Yeah.
Yeah. And just the location and the...
Just real quick.
Yeah.
So I did a little bit of Googling and math. Approximately the amount of Mount St. Helens that fell off during that earthquake, or that eruption, was approximately 1.3 billion tons.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
So that's a lot of material moving very violently, very quickly. So I could see how that's still insane that far inland it could cause that kind of effect at the ocean.
And then probably, some seismic activity in there. Like all the ones that are landslides caused by seismic activity. Just picture you have the seismic activity, you're already worried about tsunamis, and then a landslide happens and then actually creates another tsunami. That's nuts. So there's enough about, the ocean that's terrifying at sea level. So
no, that was good. That was perfect. I wanted to go back real quick to the Baltic Sea anomaly before I move on. I was going to share that.
Did more Googling?
No, I'm going through my notes. I've got so much, and so I'm deciding on what to share, what I don't want to share. But going back to the Baltic Sea anomaly,
That's why I wanted you to just keep going.
No, I needed the break, so it was very.
We'll talk about everything else in the Discord.
But so one of the other aspects of the Baltic Sea anomaly is that the magnetic field is weakened over it too. So not only does it throw off other stuff, but the magnetic field above it is weakened.
I suppose that's why electronics suffer?
Could be.
Normally you think
satellites and electronic, so even satellites going over it.
Okay, that's wild. First off, but also
that's a strong signature. Then.
They speculate that it could actually it's not linked to the anomaly, but that it's actually linked to molten iron core and remnants of an ancient tectonic plate beneath that. That's what scientists think, but it just happens to be over the same spot as the Baltic Sea anomaly. Then, to kind of pigeonhole.
Hold on, just happens to my rear end. What? We don't believe in coincidences. That's what this podcast is.
Yep, exactly. It's definitely weird either way. So even if it is natural, the weirdness of it created the anomaly and made it weird for whatever reason. There's also weird warm water influences there by the way that the water is compared to the region around it. So there's just a lot of stuff that just there's just a lot of stuff, and scientists, as much as research as they've done, they still don't know why the magnetic fields are jacked up. They don't know why. They just don't know.
Well, forget the what. Okay, you said it decreases the magnetic field.
Oh, it's
weakens it.
No, it. I'm not saying it does.
No.
I'm saying that the magnetic field above it is weakened. Yeah. In that general spot, and then the oceanic temperature anomalies, they don't know what causes that really either.
Well, smart enough to even theorize, and it makes me mad.
Hey, want to go visit that part of the world, guys?
So then, if you've heard of the Atlantic blob, which has kind of been coming into the news recently. There's the Atlantic blob that just all of a sudden...
Not to be confused with the bloop.
There's just warm water that all of a sudden just comes out of this area. And then they're like, no. That's just glitches. That's just glitches.
I was going to say something really big peed
Leviathan
in the ocean.
Yeah. No. So we're not... So this blob, we're not talking like, oh, this is like 3,000 feet big or something. Like, we're talking... like the size of the United States blob.
So something really big.
And it just
peed in the ocean.
Leviathan is, Tanner?
I'm talking like even bigger than the demonic
I have
Leviathan.
so much fun being a wagon.
But you're good at it.
I know.
Anyway, so this blob, this anomaly, it keeps occurring, and sometimes, and so the last couple of times that it's correlated, it's actually correlated when CERN fires up. But then they're like,
my gosh.
they're like, no, it's just a glitch. Don't worry about it. It's just a glitch. But it's like it's this glitch that happens and it affects like hundreds of temperature readers, and it's just obnoxious and it's big. And so there's some theories of, there's people that, so like there's theories that there's a country testing underwater like nukes. There's theories that they're using HARP to warm up the water.
That's what I was thinking.
And then,
HARP.
so prior to,
I was like, does it line up with Aurora Borealis again?
So prior to these giant hurricanes that occurred, so what do hurricanes feed off of? Warm oceanic water. Well, shortly before these record-breaking hurricanes start hitting, these bloops occur.
Blobs.
And then, blobs. Yeah, not the bloop. Yeah, different. These blobs occur of warm water, and they're like, oh, it's just a glitch. And then all of a sudden, record-breaking hurricane after record-breaking hurricane occur. And so it just happens to correlate, and it's warming up the water. And so the theory is that either maybe the HARP or something, or they're doing it on purpose, or something is heating it up and they're hiding what it is because they don't want to freak people out.
Random side note: did you guys happen to see the graphic show, the like CG graphic showing the difference between like the size of Katrina and the size of Milton when it was developing? Bro, it's magnitudes, like magnitudes larger. It is insane.
It's crazy. But
it is interesting that might correlate with that.
And then we just had a bomb cyclone that just completely obliterated the Pacific Northwest too.
Yeah, but that would be different.
I know, because
those storms form.
I'm trying to science.
Because hurricanes form because of the warm water, and those actually.
I'm turning my mic
because
off.
of a different reason. But it did. No, that's actually, I do want that the oarfish. Some people are theorizing that the oarfish was a significant of that happening, but I don't think so, because oarfish was in California and that hit the northeast or northwest, and I don't think that they correlate. I think that there's an earthquake that's going to hit California.
Correlate, not cause it.
Correlate. Okay, and really rapidly, because we don't have time, but I really want to correlate this.
Correlate?
I want to bring this up. So we can't escape talking about deep sea cryptids, anomalies, lores, tsunamis without talking about the most famous deep sea thing of all.
The Loch Ness Monster?
Nope, that is not a deep sea thing. That is a lake Ness.
I don't care.
Are we going biblical with like the parting of the Red Sea?
Nope. We're talking the most famous. It's probably not more famous.
We already talked about
the Red Sea is the Red Sea, not the deep ocean.
We already talked about Noah's Ark and the flood.
Yeah.
The Red Sea has a blue hole. The Red Sea.
No.
I wanted to bring that up later, but anyway. We'll talk about
Atlantis.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
We haven't talked about Atlantis. So I have a theory.
You said cryptid, and that through me way off of that
Mer
track.
people.
Well, yeah, the Atlantis is it's the super civilization, so it's kind of in that same vein of what our podcast is about. But so Atlantis is such an interesting thing because it was talked about as having existed, and that it was basically a like we kind of talk about it as a theorized sunken civilization. Okay, right? Mm-hmm. That it was super advanced and all this other stuff. Have you ever heard of the Eye of the Sahara?
No.
Have you ever heard of the Eye of the Sahara? Mm-mm. This is one of my favorite conspiracy theories.
You just got all wiggly.
This is one of my favorite conspiracy theories of all time because of how huge how much it correlates. So the Eye of the Sahara, it is this rock anomaly in the Sahara Desert in northwest Africa, and it's just this giant rock anomaly. Okay. They don't really know what it is, but it's just in the middle of the desert. And so they've never really explored it because exploring it is really difficult because getting equipment in and out is expensive. And it's kind of this cool rock anomaly. So why are we going to, explore it? It's just kind of a cool rock anomaly.
Have we noticed that theme with a lot of the weird things we've talked about?
Nobody wants to
it's
finance
really
it.
Difficult and expensive to get to the places where a lot of the interesting, crazy, weird things are.
It's difficult, expensive, and it occurs near the Middle East or in that region. But anyway, so the Eye of the Sahara. Okay, so the existence of this thing is interesting because the fact that it even is there is something. Now, whether or not it is Atlantis. Okay, even if it is not Atlantis, at one point or another, just the entire region was catastrophically. Okay, so the entire region, Phil, is an anomaly because it's like it was washed out with mud or water. It's almost like just something massive. Liquid wise, just completely washed this whole area out. And then at one point in time, if you go back into the history books, there's people who tried to travel into this region, but they couldn't get there because it was muddy in the middle of the desert.
What?
It was muddy. So we have this history book. Are you looking up?
I'm looking at it. It's so circular.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's so circular.
Okay. Now, look up an overlap of what Atlantis would have looked like above water. If you do it, basically Atlantis was designed to be...
Bro, what?
Yeah, buddy. You're picking it up.
Okay.
All right. So it's basically it's rows of buildings inside of like a water area, right? And if you look at the Eye of the Sahara, the rock figures, the rock formations seem to line up similar to where Atlantis is theorized to how it would have been theorized to have been built based off of how it was explained.
Okay, a quick question because I'm not super familiar with this. Where does Atlantis come from in terms of like lore, history, whatever else? Who wrote that? Who wrote that?
Okay, so
Plato.
Plato originally talked about it, and so basically he explained this super duper advanced civilization that existed and all this other stuff. Okay. So this would have been in 300-ish, something like that.
360 BCE is what I see.
Yeah. And so
is when he wrote about it.
When he wrote about it. But he supposedly got the information about it from other people. So there's this long chain of where he supposedly originally got it from. And when you look at really, really, really old maps, there's the region in which Atlantis was theorized to be was in Africa, was in North Africa. Well, what if? So we know that the North Africa hasn't always been a desert. So what if it lined up with Atlanta existing at about the same time as the pyramids existed?
Atlanta exists now.
In my mind, the Eye of the Sahara.
Atlanta exists now.
Atlantis. No, I know. I deserve this. But I can still... Anyway.
Oh, that's recorded.
So, what?
Huh? Nothing.
Me calling you a
No. Yeah, that's the part I was excited about.
It's only recorded as long as I allow it to be. Who edits the episode? There's just going to be a silence, and then people are like, what? And they'll think that I cussed, and I'm going to leave it in thinking that they make
history is written by the editor.
I'm going to make them think that I was swearing, and so I'm going to leave this in too so that they know that I wasn't swearing.
This is going to be
But anyway, Atlantis, if Atlantis was at the Eye of the Sahara, and it existed in its prime during the same time as the pyramids would have been built, because if the pyramids weren't built, if it wasn't desert when they were built, which is a big theory, that it would have been built when that region had water, because we know that area isn't always been desert, because it goes through periods of being a desert and periods of not being a desert historically. So what if Atlantis either existed and once it became more a desert region, it got harder and harder to get resources. Eventually, they all moved away, and it just kind of withered. Or another theory: what if Atlantis was built before the flood, and when the flood occurred, it just one of the first things it did was it just that weird like anomaly of like the mud and all that other stuff. What if it just washed all of Atlantis out and just destroyed it? What if it was a pre-flood civilization?
Okay, real quick. I've never looked into Atlantis because I thought it was just some myth that nobody like. I didn't think there was a intelligent backing to this.
It's one of my favorite theories.
Bro, I never looked this up.
This is why I saved it for last.
According to Plato's account, Atlantis existed around 9600 BCE is when it disappeared. And by disappeared,
Pre-flood.
I mean, according to Plato's account, it sank into the Atlantic Ocean in a single day and night. What? I didn't know this. No. Why is
pre-flood?
History teachers never talked about this?
Yeah. What if Atlantis?
I'm so angry right now.
Yeah, dude. What if Atlantis was a pre-flood civilization? But if we teach about it, we have to teach the concept that it could have even occurred, and that leads credence to there being a global flood,
right?
That occurred overnight. Mm-hmm. And what if pre-flood? If it's a pre-flood civilization and it was destroyed, and that kind of goes back to like with all of that advanced technology, what if it existed around the same time as Göbekli Tepe? What if it existed around the same time as the pyramids? What? Göbekli Tepe. What if it existed around the same time as the pyramids were built? What if it existed around the same time? What if? And so Atlantis very realistically could be
the Eye of Sahara. Really, that's very interesting the way that that shapes up.
And it could have been a very real place. We have this weird, because we have some written stuff from previous, and I'm curious, man, is if they ever got around to investigating Göbekli Tepe and actually like looked at the pillars, I really wonder if there's not a pillar that talks about Atlantis in there, because it could have existed around the same time and there had been trade between them and everything. And that goes back to, okay, so then was the Tower of Babel and they separated the people by language and stuff. If it was a physical separation, that could be one of those things where it's like all of a sudden, because they were separated by language and all of that other stuff, they no longer traded with each other and all of the technology was lost, and then the flood and it washed everything out and it was destroyed, and now we don't really have anything. But now we're not investigating the area to even see if there could be anything there. And so I
really like how many of the things that we've talked about and the theories we've posed are suddenly starting to come together to make a lot of sense as one linear, coherent story.
Theory, yeah.
In at least like I'm seeing it, and I don't know, like it really is starting to make a lot of sense in my brain.
And that's kind of part of the reason I wanted to start this podcast, was because I had started finding all of this stuff, and I got to the point where in my brain it all just makes sense.
Yeah, this feels like the point where like the detective has all the red strings strung up on the board, and they suddenly step back and go, holy crap.
Yeah,
like
dude.
I see the big picture. And I'm starting to.
And this is so my brain, like, oh, I wish I could just like, no, I don't want to Neuralink, but I wish I could just like Neuralink take like all of these conspiracy theories that I have in my brain and just hand it to somebody and be like, red pill. And just let them go, because that's kind of where I'm at. Like, I've looked into all of this stuff for so long that it makes, for me, it gets to a point where the conspiracy makes more sense than the reality. And the reality being that, Atlantis never existed. Göbekli Tepe never existed. It was all this and it was this. And they built the pyramids as tombs, and demons don't exist and aliens don't exist, but they do exist, and they're from other planets, and they want to help us, but they don't. And they kidnap us, but our government, like, that doesn't make sense to me. But with how we've talked about it on the podcast, that makes sense to me, and it all begins to fit together like this giant puzzle. And so Atlantis, man. Atlantis. The Eye of the Sahara.
That's one of the more compelling like comparisons I've seen.
And part of that is backed
of, like,
up
what looks like what
by the overlap. Because when you overlap them and you look at a recreation of how Atlantis was described, and what it looked like. And then honestly, even you start looking at the region, you start seeing the weird, like washed out, like if you zoom out of the region, it looks like it's like a beach, almost like it got washed out. Yeah. And so it's like, well, if you throw in the concept of a global flood that just happened quick, the waters, if the waters came first in the region around where Noah would have been, it would have come from that area and down and would have washed out the Eye of the Sahara area and would have made its way that way first as it began to flood the rest of the area. And so it could have literally been as Courtney was talking about, a tsunami that literally just took out Atlantis overnight and it sunk into, and then so it sunk and then it was underwater, but then eventually tectonic plates and stuff like that, and it brings it back above water, and then it became mud, and then eventually became a desert. And so then post flood, the whole region could have been a desert. And so then the thought process goes to, well, if the slaves didn't build the pyramids and it was pre-flood, then that whole region would have been flooded, which goes back to, if you've ever looked at the wear and tear on some of the pyramids, looks more like water than it does from natural erosion. Yeah. So then the pyramids could have been a pre-flood creation. And that kind of goes to, so like when we recreate things, like, so humans try to recreate the pyramids. And so then it seems like the pyramids get worse and worse and worse as they create them. That leads to me that the pyramids likely would have been a pre-flood creation as well.
There are enough new thoughts in my brain today that my head is starting to hurt. This seems like a good place to call it for the day.
I will let the listeners they've got it now. I hope that you're inspired enough to look this up yourself, because I'm so glad, Phil, that you did that. Because for me, the Eye of the Sahara is one where you just have to see it and you have to look it up yourself to understand.
Go ahead and post that in the Discord.
I'll post it in the Discord. But look it up. Start to look. And this is where I just want to inspire you to become like me in looking up some of these conspiracies. Yeah, man. And so I hope you enjoyed it.
It's always worth doing research. It's always worth doing research.
Oh, yeah. You got to just
What else do you have to
do? Recognize that like the history that we've been taught might not be completely accurate.
Nobody alters history.
Right. Nobody does, especially not people who have an ulterior motive of a one world government.
Nobody has ulterior motives.
And that one world government is going to, basically lead in. No, if they have your best interests in mind, and the government wouldn't do it. Okay. All right, with that, thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, do everything. It helps the podcast. You're amazing. We love you. Keep listening. And a wrap. All right. Okay, bye.
Ancient days of giants, when the earth was wild and free, a creature roamed the valleys, cloaked in mystery. Is he born of angels' blood and man, a Nephilim so tall, or a shadow of the fallen, yet he the maker's call? He's a biblically accurate Bigfoot, with a lineage from the skies. Not a myth or legend, but a truth that never dies. Is he a remnant of the Nephilim, a titan standing tall? Or does he have the word of God upon him, the last to hear the call?